feel with mine, cause we're awakened. You won't catch us sleeping through the fight, and like we're all eyes open showing.
FM Frequency, Course for Success, right here on the Awakened Radio Network and the Awakened Radio Store. You can learn all about how to take your message FM frequency with transformation messages. Go FM frequency, getting sales without struggle. A brand new book, a brand new course, one-on-one by the Barefoot Guru, Donna Devane herself, that takes you step by step for 2 hours through the frequencies in her book to help you discover what is the best way for you to market, package, and brand your business. Check out FM Frequency Course for Success by Donna Devane, the Barefoot Guru, which includes 2 hours one-on-one coaching and an autographed copy of Transformation Messages. Go FM Frequency, getting sales without struggle. It's available in the Divine Connection section of the Awakened Radio Store at awakenedradio.net. Don't have time to sit down and join the Awakened Radio host in the chat room? We understand that. Our website and our radio messages are mobile. If you can't find us on the music app on your mobile device, go to www.tunein.com. Download their free application, and once you've got it installed, look for Awakened Radio. You can now listen to Awakened Radio in your car, exercising, going for walks, running the kids back and forth to school, shopping in the store, doing the dishes, and as a few of our listeners has informed us, make your laundry a breeze while listening to Awakened Radio at awakenedradio.net. Whether you listen live in the chat room, call in, or listen on your mobile device, keep listening to the Awakened Radio Network, where we give you the tools for self-empowerment so that you can do your own healing and live the successful lifestyle.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. Each week we'll have a new conversation exploring the life of a person who began to listen to his or her heart. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Whether they are young, old, or somewhere in between, their work has helped to transform their lives, and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired as you hear about life-changing and transforming stories. Be part of our conversation. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. Welcome, everyone. I'm Rob Ragozzine. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's October 27th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Please join us in the chat room at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab, or join us on the air by adding Awakened Radio to Skype or dial 334-649-7204. This week we'll be talking with Mel Scholl. Come gather with us in our conversation as we open the door for Mel. She's a healer, addiction counselor, coach, and inspirational speaker. She's also an empathic personal guide with a strong desire to deeply connect with her clients. Mel says, I believe the best advice I can give is to look for people who can guide and support you on your journey. If you're inspired by tonight's talk, contact me and participate in a call of your own. We'd love to hear about the work that you've done, and it'll be all your own conversation, so please do contact me if you'd like to join us. Now let's invite Mel in. Hello, Mel.
Hi, Rob. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's been a beautiful day in Minneapolis, a beautiful fall day.
Now, let's jump right in and talk about that, how we can find guides for us to help us, especially if we realize that we need to change something. We're addicted to alcohol, for instance, or drugs, or whatever our addiction is. We realize we're harming ourselves and it's time to change. How can we start?
Well, that's a great question. There's so many ways that people can get healthy, and one way doesn't necessarily work for everyone. So my advice to people when they ask me that question is to do your research and look to perhaps who other people have used in your life, or look for resources and interview people, talk to people, make certain that it resonates with you, because that's important. Again, just because someone else has done it doesn't mean that it's going to be the right fit for you. Just like with the clients that I work with, I'm not a good fit for everyone, but the people that resonate with me, it's a good fit. So that's my best advice around that is really do your research and reach out for information.
Now you say, be kind and gentle with yourself through the whole process. Mel, can you explain a little bit about what that means?
Absolutely. I think that's of the utmost importance because so often when we decide that we want to do something, we set a goal and we put it out there. And I know myself as an addicted person and addicted people that I've worked with, we want things very quickly. We can understand things intellectually, and then we want them to happen very fast. And the processes are usually not very fast. And just as a baby begins to learn to walk, it gets up, it falls down, but it gets up again. So baby steps are very important in that process of being kind and gentle to yourself. Means that you're going to care for yourself along the way, and you're not going to beat yourself up. It's like the baby, you fall down and need to get back up again, because we all know the old saying, it isn't about the falling down, it's about the getting back up that's really important.
Now, Mel, is your work related to any of the programs that are out there? Do you help people get into things like AA?
I actually offer what I believe is an alternative, holistic approach when I work with my addiction clients. Certainly AA has been a resource for people since the 30s when it first came into being, and it has helped many, many, many people. But for some people, like myself, it wasn't a good fit, and it isn't a good fit for some people. And so I want to work with people with the idea that there are alternative ways to fighting sobriety, staying healthy and whole, and moving forward in a positive life and having a big life. So it's really very individualistic, and it's going to be what fits best. If one of the other programs isn't a good fit for a person, my concern would be that then they would feel that they were a failure and wouldn't be able to maintain sobriety. So my message is find the best fit for you. If it's AA, that's great, but if it's not, don't be discouraged, because there are other ways to maintain sobriety.
Sure, absolutely. Mel, I was intrigued by that. So you're saying there's multiple ways, but early on, is someone able to pick that for themselves, or they need help?
I'm sorry, are they able to choose that for themselves? Is that what you said?
I'm asking, when they first recognize that they do need help, are they really able to pick one particular program?
I see what you're saying. Yes. Well, that's a good question. Oftentimes people, like myself, my journey was to make the decision to go to an outpatient treatment facility. And there are inpatient treatment facilities, and oftentimes people will do it simply by going to AA. Or another resource that I used was Women for Sobriety. So the idea would be, hopefully, that when a person decides that they do need help and decide that they would like to get help, that they would, look at different options and see what is available. One of the roles that I have found in the work that I do is sometimes I will meet with clients with the idea that they're going to work perhaps long term with me, but I often determine that maybe they need a higher level of care, and so they will work with me for a while, and then I will suggest to them that they go to an inpatient or an outpatient treatment program, and perhaps then come back around and work with me again after. So it really depends on the individual situation and what level of care the person needs.
And they may need their family or friends or someone in the system to be able to recognize whether they can make decisions for them.
Exactly. I have worked with numbers of loved ones who want to know how to deal with this with their loved one, and that's a tough thing because the person that's watching the other person, they want to change it for them or fix it for them, and that's not really, it's not the way it works. And so people have to perhaps offer resources, but coming to that decision to get the help is sometimes a very long process and a very difficult process. One of the things that I teach my clients is what's called the 5 stages of change, and we actually all go through these stages of change, whether it's deciding to go and get help for addiction or we're just trying to decide if we want to buy a new car. And the first stage is pre-contemplation, and that's a stage where you don't even, we'll use the example obviously of addiction, you don't even think you have a problem. Others may be telling you you have a problem, but you don't think you have a problem, and you could care less what other people think. The next stage is contemplation, and that's a stage at which you think, well, there have been some consequences. Maybe I do have a problem. So it's the thinking about it and the contemplating about it. The next stage is the planning stage, and the third stage being planning is that means that, I've now said I do have a problem, and so now I'm going to go out and research places and talk to people and make a decision maybe of where I would go. The next stage would be the action stage, and that's where someone would actually be in treatment or working with a counselor like me or going to AA or Women for Sobriety. And then the 5th stage is maintenance, long-term sobriety or maintenance in that. Now, in the area of this subject that we're talking about, sometimes people can actually get to maintenance and then relapse, and then they have to go back again to hopefully to the action stage and not just back all the way back to the planning stage. But this is sort of a very dynamic process. People can go from contemplation to planning to back to contemplation again. Getting to the action stage can take a long time, especially when you're talking about drug and alcohol abuse.
Mel, in your work, have you found that that when people are able to be self-empowered, that's when everything really comes together?
That's a big part of it, Rob, and I can mostly speak from my own personal experience with this. Certainly stopping drinking and going to treatment and getting the education and having long-term sobriety was wonderful and certainly turned me 180 degrees in a different direction. But I could also see that I needed more, and I wanted not only to survive, but I wanted to thrive in my life. And really, and I will tell my clients this, I will say that putting the cork in the bottle is really, it's often a very difficult process, but it is the first step of the process. And so it really, that whole idea led me to doing the empowerment work myself personally and then becoming an empowerment coach, because in order to fulfill this life now that you have, because when we're active in our addiction, my life was very small. It's very narrow because you're so focused on the addiction itself that you really have no time for anything. So you remove that, you become sober, you start living healthier, then you have this big life to fill. And what are you going to do, and how are you going to find what's going to move you and fill you with passion and excitement? Because that's the whole idea. I mean, to stay static after you've become sober, I think is really a sad place to be.
Absolutely. That's, I think, one of the things that people need to realize is that they need to go back to a life. But that might be building up from ground zero, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because they might have pushed away their family, their friends. Now, how do they welcome them back?
Well, that's a very good point. And another aspect of that is oftentimes people even have to find a whole new network of people, particularly if the people that they were closest to were using buddies and people that they drank with or used drugs with. This is oftentimes a particularly difficult issue for young people because that's what young people do. That's their socialization. So you make a very good point. In addition to finding a new network of people, perhaps a new group of friends, you have maybe pushed away people in your life that you still want to have in your life that are healthy and love you. And I've worked with clients who struggled with that because they'll go back to them and say, well, I'm clean and sober now, and it's always that question of, well, are you really? Because in active addiction, there's a lot of lying and deceit, and that's part of the disease. And so there is a rebuilding, there's a need to regain trust, and that primarily is done by action and just moving forward and taking the baby steps and being kind to yourself. The process itself is the goal, not something in the distance, but right where you are at the moment.
Now, Mel, do you feel like you're a part of a growing community?
With
the work that you do, with the people that you've helped to actually heal, take new steps in their lives, do you see, well, there's two questions in that. The second part would be, what happens when you come into contact with someone who has transcended, I don't even have a word for it, but is able to stay sober for a number of years?
So the first part of the question, yes. I mean, it's really, it's amazing. I mean, I have met people through my experience of getting sober that I never would have met in my life had I not gotten sober. And so there is a camaraderie and an excitement. And, when I get together with people who've had long-term sobriety like I have, it's kind of a high in itself because there's so much joy in living this way. And there's a whole new movement out there. There's a movie called The Anonymous People, and I'm not here to promote that movie, but I'm just very thrilled with the movement because it's about the need for people to come out of the shadows, so to speak, and really raise up and recognize and be proud of their long-term recovery, because that's how more people will get help, and that's going to be really important going forward. And so it's a very exciting time to not only be personally sober and healthy, but to be a professional in the field. It's really amazing. Yes. Yes, yes.
And Mel, we got a question from the chat room, and that was how long you've been sober, if you don't mind.
Oh, not at all. I'm very happy to share it. This past September 10th, I was 11 years sober. So long and counting.
And how do you feel about that? Did you take time to celebrate?
Absolutely. I live in Minneapolis, and there is the North Shore of Lake Superior along the state of Minnesota, and I have a beloved place that I go to at least once or twice a year, and I've made it a tradition now to go there. It's a very spiritual and place that I just love. The Nana Buju Lodge is the name of it, and so I go there and celebrate with nature.
That sounds like a wonderful place.
It is.
Now, what do you tell people who feel stuck as if they can't change? Then, Mel.
If they feel stuck and they can't change,
yes.
Well, you know, that's a tough one because it is really something that people have to come to themselves. And just, you know, thinking back about my own journey and how, you know, I didn't want to be sober. I mean, I didn't want to stop drinking. It was a lifestyle. So there's an attitude about needing to see that something can be better. But I really don't believe that you can force this on people. You know, you really just can't. I mean, it has to be. It's that 5 stages that I explained before. I mean, the person really has to come to the place of going, yeah, I've got a problem. I have a problem, and I want to do something about it. But unless the person is there, it can be very difficult. I a number of years ago worked in an agency and worked with a lot of women who were in the legal system, and they were mandated to come to treatment. And it's not to say that mandated people don't get healthy and sober, and but certainly somebody that wants it will really grasp onto the concept faster, I think, and you know, it shifts people more easily.
So they really have to take the first step and ask for help.
Yes. It's really that. It's reaching out. As I alluded to before, when you are in your active addiction, it's very isolating. You isolate. Your world is very small. You don't want to ask for people to help you because you don't want the help. You don't want anybody to know you have a problem. And you really start to think that you're the only one that could ever feel this way. So, you know, I talk, when I tell my story, I talk about my aha moment and how it was the night of September 9th, 2002, and I woke up the next morning and had left my dog out all night, and had it been 20 below in Minnesota, he would have died. And you know, that was my moment. And for me, that was the turning point. I just realized at that moment that he could have died, and that would have just, he was so important to me, that would have been unbelievable to me. People have different sort of aha awakening moments. People get DUIs, or people go to jail, or they lose their job. I didn't have any of that. I was sort of under the radar with my addiction, and many of my friends were stunned when I told them. Because on the outside, everything looked really, really good, but on the inside, it was really, really bad. So for each person, that turning moment and that point where you reach out and ask for help is going to look different.
It's just having the egg crack and letting the help come in, letting down your
Exactly.
guard. Now, you have to be connected to your heart in a lot of this work. How do you go about doing that?
Well, that's just so true. I mean, I never imagined in my life, I'll be 62 at the end of December, and I got sober I was 50, close to 51, and I never imagined in my life, ever, that my life would be what it is today. And connecting to my work through my heart is exactly what happened. When I realized that this is the work that I was meant to do after getting sober, it allows me to feel the passion for the work and compassion for the people that I help. And I am at my most joyful when I'm working one-on-one with a client. So that's where that's where the work touches my heart. And to be able to educate people about the disease is really a touch point for my heart as well.
Okay, Mel, we've reached the halfway point. Have some time to share the ways people can reach you at online and in person, if you'd like to do that.
Certainly. Great, thank you. My website is women'spathways2health.com, and I can also be reached on Twitter at Mel Scholl, and also you can reach me at 612-791-6330.
Okay. And can they contact you via email?
Of course. I'm sorry, I forgot that part. That would be Mel at women'spathways2health.com.
Now, how might you be able to help them if they're not local?
Well, what I really like to do is offer anybody that's interested in what I do or wants to use me as a resource is to offer a 30-minute complimentary conversation. And if people are local, we can either do that in person or on the phone. But if they're not local, I'd be happy to talk, even to broach the subject of, do you have a problem? What could be the resources that I could suggest for you? I'd like to be seen as a resource in addition to offering individual counseling to people.
So you can help them in some way, even if they're not local to you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, the work that I do as a coach can often be done over the phone.
So even if they're not local, you could still work with them in a coach-based capacity.
Exactly.
And how might that start?
How would that start? Well, we would have a phone conversation, and then we would schedule the times that we would talk on a regular basis. And my program, which is detailed on the website, it's called Pathway to Your Best Life, and it is a structured program that lasts 3 to 4 months. That's the intensive program, and I work with people on their issues of belief systems and how the belief systems that we get as young people particularly keep us stuck in our lives. This works nicely with people who have completed an addiction program or done counseling with me, who then really want to enlarge their lives and live a more empowered life. And we look at the areas of emotions and relationships, sexuality, body, money, work, and spirituality. And in each of those areas, we look at what is your thought process, what are your belief systems that really are getting you stuck and sort of like a boulder in the road that you can't get around. And it's an experiential work. There's a lot of visualization work that's done and journaling, and it's really quite transformational. I've seen a lot of really exciting things happen with my clients.
Okay, thank you, Mel. And if you have a question for Mel when we get back from the break, please feel free to either type your question in the chat room or through Skype or via phone. So we'll come back and talk more with Mel Scholl. Thanks for listening.
You won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened. Come and join us.
Awakened Radio Network is brought to you by our sponsors. visit and let them know you heard about them here on the Awakened Radio Network. Do you have health and medical problems the regular medical system cannot seem to figure out how to fix? If the answer is yes, then check out rifeenergymedicine.com. That is Rife spelled R-I-F-E. rifeenergymedicine.com for a new way to approach many of your health problems. rifeenergymedicine.com. Are you looking for a fun and easy and productive way to promote and advertise your personally owned business? If so, the Awakened Radio Network just might have the solution for you. Visit awakenedradio.net and look up under our products and services tabs, or add Awakened Radio to your Skype contact and send Donna Devane, the station owner, a message. Or you can add Donna Devane at gmail.com to your email contacts and send Donna an email letting her know that you would like to set a time to go over how to advertise your business in a way that makes getting sales easy without the struggle and a whole lot of fun. Do you have a message, something that just burns within you that you couldn't stop talking about even if someone offered to pay you to? Well, you just might be the type of host that we're looking for here on the Awakened Radio Network. Add Awakened Radio to your Skype contacts or send Donna Devane, the station owner, a message, DonnaDevane at gmail.com. And let's set up a time to talk and see if you and Awakened Radio Network are on the same consciousness wavelength. We might can work together and provide a win-win where your message goes out on our airwaves, reaching our global listeners, bringing fun, self-growth, and a whole lot of excitement to both your life and the Awakened Radio family.
Hello, this is Rob Ragozzine. Please tune to my show, Simply Conversations. It airs every Sunday night at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. Each week, I invite a new guest to talk about his or her personal life changes and experiences. Please listen and invite your friends. You may even be inspired to take new steps in your life. And welcome back. And if you'd like to ask a question of Mel Scholl, you can call us at 334-649-7204 or at Awakened Radio to your Skype, or come to awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab and join us in chat. So thanks for being with us tonight, Mel. I had a question that came to me while we were in break, and that is, do you experience some personal learning while you're helping and working with the women in your practice?
Absolutely. I learn from my clients every day. They help me to grow so much. Especially when there's a challenging situation with a client, it allows me to seek other resources, to educate myself more. To me, that's the blessing of my work, is the clients really, really help me to grow.
Now, does your family support what you do?
Yes, everybody in my life is very supportive of my work, and so happy for me that I have found this for myself in my life. Yes, and it's really very positive.
Mel, can you remember a particular conversation that really inspired you to believe in yourself?
Oh, let me think. I've had so many wonderful opportunities in the last couple of years that have really brought me to a place of appreciating what I've done. I think sometimes, well, for myself, I get into situations and move forward and do what I believe is the right thing for me to do, and then friends or colleagues will respond to what I've done, and with such positive reinforcement that it just throws me. And then I step back and I go, wow, I guess I am doing the right thing, and it's just so, that's empowering in itself to open myself up to hear what other people have to say.
Mel, we talked a little bit about this in the beginning of the show, but what advice would you give to someone who hasn't begun to do their work yet?
Well, if someone has an interest in seeking help and looking for ways to better themselves, there are so many outlets. There are so many opportunities today. I think I mentioned at the top of the hour that doing your homework is really important. I really believe in that, in finding the right place to be with the right people to help you. There are so many people out there in the world today that are coaches and counselors and treatment centers and all sorts of self-help and all of that. But my belief system is that we truly have the answers within ourselves. I don't consider myself the person giving answers to my clients. I see myself as their guide. I help them to come to realizations. I can ask probing questions to get them to think about things. But my belief system is that we come here with all the answers inside of us and we lose track of them. But when we start to do our personal work, and if we're open to hearing those answers, they are inside of us. And what resonates with us is what's important. So when someone seeks out a counselor or a coach or some program, don't just go and drink the Kool-Aid. Really pay attention to whether or not this is what resonates with you, and it is going to be different for different people. That's probably one of the more important things I can really say is find the right fit for you. I know that my story of getting to where I went for treatment, that morning when I realized I had to do something, and that day was the day that was a turning point for me. And I called a friend who was very knowledgeable about treatment centers, and I said to him, I need to go to treatment. Please help me figure out. And he gave me 3 names and phone numbers, and I called them, and only one had a live person that answered. And that was where I went, and that was the best of the 3 places for me to be. I just knew at that moment that was where I needed to be. So it's those kind of messages that I would encourage people to pick up on and listen to for themselves.
So really, sort of like what I talk about on my intuition show, it's listening to your body, listening to your wisdom, listening to yourself, and whatever substance you're addicted to, it's blocking you from listening to that. It's keeping you distracted from your answers. So to connect to those answers in any way that you can.
Very well said. That's exactly what I believe. And you're right, whatever we're addicted to, and it kind of goes into that thing about my empowerment work, the idea that the things that keep us stuck, and sometimes it's our own thought processes, and sometimes it's an addiction, but it's right, absolutely, Rob, it's when we lose that connection to that, what I call sort of those visceral moments where your body responds. I've seen that with clients in my empowerment work. We work on affirmations, and obviously at the end of the day, the client creates their own affirmation. It has to belong to them. It has to feel like that for them. I guide them in the beginning, particularly for people who aren't used to creating affirmations. But I will watch for the person. They will have a visceral reaction when it's the right affirmation for them. To a person that I've worked with, this happens. I mean, sometimes it's a pit in the stomach. Sometimes somebody said to me one time, I get warm all over when I feel it's the right one. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Listen to that.
Yes, listen to your body, pay attention, and stop diverting yourself from paying attention to your feelings and what your body truly needs.
Right. And the thing is that people get so off track and they're so afraid of their feelings and emotions that they don't allow themselves to go to that place because it's so fearful for them. And that's, where a guide or a counselor or a coach can come in handy, is to hold the person's hand while they're working through that early stage of learning that feelings and emotions don't kill us, but they can be very difficult to deal with.
Yes, and Mel, you had said in the beginning about being kind and gentle to yourself, especially as they're in this process. So what might help them to remember that? How do you help them to remember that?
How do I help them to remember that? Well, I tell them that a lot. It's not easy for us. I think all of us in our society, we're bombarded on a regular basis, and I work primarily with women, so that's my focus, and I think women in particular are bombarded on a regular basis of, you should be this, you should be that, you should eat this, wear this, look like this, go here, all those messages that we get on a regular basis. And what I say to clients is, pay attention so that you're not judging your insides against someone else's outsides. That's where we can get into trouble with not being kind to ourselves. And to a person, no matter how it looks on the outside, everyone is struggling with something. And so I would say to clients, try to remember to not judge your insides to someone else's outsides, and to divert those messages. I mean, personally, I really don't get magazines anymore that promote all of that for women, because it's disturbing. It's really hard to have to be faced with that on a regular basis. So paying attention to those things and figuring out little ways to change those thought processes. And again, in the empowerment work, we certainly work with affirmations, but in the addiction work, it's very important, because since when you're in your active addiction, that's your major tool to use to deal with emotions and pain. And so changing those behaviors and finding different ways to respond and put those tools in your toolbox is really important.
Mel, is there any common thread in the learning of the women that go through your programs?
Yes. The common thread that I see for both programs, actually, are women dealing with trauma, shame and guilt issues, and self-esteem. I've particularly seen that in the addiction work that I've done. Those three areas seem to be a very common thread, if not all of them, usually two of them that are an underlying precipitator to addiction. And, of course, in the empowerment work, typically the woman that comes to me to do the empowerment work is in a better place than someone who's just trying to stop using a substance, but there are a lot of these things that come out in the work that we do together, and a lot of those same things come through. Yes.
Now, what happens when their guilt begins to heal or their shame begins to heal?
Well, it's amazing what happens, particularly those. Well, and I love to teach people about the difference between shame and guilt, because in general, people don't really understand what the difference is, and shame has to do with I'm a bad person, and guilt has to do with I do bad things. And so I really try to educate the client on the difference between those. But when that starts to clear for people and they get an understanding of letting that go, women get their voice back. They really kind of stand up and have more of a voice in their life, and that's really exciting to see. I would say that's a theme I see as well, is that they feel like they've lost their voice and they really don't feel like they matter anymore. And, of course, that can be tied back to those other areas, shame and guilt and trauma and self-esteem issues. So that's really exciting to see that people stand up and speak out for themselves. And I actually coach how to do that so that people don't get trampled over, because when we shift in our lives, when we start to make changes and other people in our lives see those changes, it makes them very uncomfortable, and they want us to stay right where we were because they know how to deal with that. And so I will guide and coach clients on how to deal with those issues of you have your voice and you're speaking your voice. You have to put it out there, and you have to not be wanting to control someone's reaction to it. So that's a very interesting process as well.
Mel, do you teach them about working with their shadow in your process?
No, I do not. I'm not working in that way with them, no.
No. You were talking about shame. Do you find that it's closely related to body image?
Very often. Very often. And also just not feeling good enough, not feeling smart enough, not feeling worthy. A respected author and researcher that I really admire is Brené Brown, and she did her PhD work on shame. And she just has such a way of connecting what that means for people and how we as humans, our deepest desire is to connect with each other, but we have our shame that keeps us disconnected. And so really, as she has modeled in her work, I do try and work with women on how we can allow ourselves to be vulnerable and connect with each other in a very healthy way.
Yes, she was on, I believe, Super Soul Sunday this year. I don't remember when. But it was an excellent episode, and I really recommend people finding it if they can. Yes,
I've been very blessed with the opportunity to meet her and be with her in person a couple of times a number of years ago, and have followed her and just really inspired and find her very inspirational.
Mel, again, we talked about this earlier, but when you follow up with people, do you find that they're having better relationships?
Yes. In the empowerment work, I usually follow up with people in a couple months after they've finished the work. And it's impressive to see how they've incorporated the work into their lives. And, some things they're struggling with. But, again, the work is about finding those almost hidden belief systems that become our core, that keep us stuck. And what many people have responded to me when they come back is that they're now catching themselves going, oh my gosh, there's one of those core beliefs. There's something that's holding me back. So that's really exciting to see that not only have they learned what I was coaching them on, but they were actually taking it and identifying it in their lives, and it's making a change. Nothing's 100%. We always need to sort of keep coming back and revisiting things, but it's been exciting to see how people have incorporated the work into their lives and identifying those messages when they come up. And that's most important, is they can then say, wow, there's a message that I don't want to think about anymore, and change it around, turn it around and make an affirmation and send it on its way.
But they're incorporating what they've learned into their lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how does that make you feel?
Well, it's exciting. It's, when I started out, first I became an addiction counselor. My goal was to help one person. I wanted to help one woman find what I had found, and then went on to become an empowerment coach, and that just added a whole other dimension, because that can be with people who have addictions or not. It's a very joyful thing for me. I have a very hard time accepting much credit around it, because I am the guide, I'm the teacher, I'm the coach, but the person has to go out and do the work themselves. And so if I can have been a small part of that process, it's pretty darn gratifying to me, yeah.
But you introduced them to the work. Doesn't mean that it's because of you, but it is, in a way, because of you. They might not have found the work outside of you.
That's true. That's true.
So to celebrate that's excellent.
Yes. Yes.
Now, with healthcare, Mel, what changes would you like to see so that your work might become a larger part of the overall system?
Well, as I alluded to before, the whole idea of, and this includes mental health issues, the whole health system has to identify that people with both chemical illness and mental illness need a lot more attention and access to programs and long-term treatment than was ever identified before. This absolutely has to shift and change, and I believe it's going to, because people are dying needlessly from both drug and alcohol addiction and certainly mental illness, and it's just unnecessary. And so I'm most hopeful and excited that with the way that it's changing currently, that people will have more access to help and will live better and healthier and more productive lives. It's going to help the country as a whole.
Yes, absolutely. Now, do you have any particular mentors that you hold in high esteem?
Well, I have quite a few people that I've admired over the years. Certainly, I just mentioned Brene Brown. I had wonderful teachers when I was going to get my addiction counseling degree, and certainly the people that trained me in the empowerment work. My neighbor next door is an amazing mentor towards me. She's in her late 70s, and she's an amazing woman who's done a lot with her work, and she's watched me transform and has been, a champion for me. And those people in my life have just been amazing, and just the dear friends that I have. I think everyday people have the opportunity to mentor by just simply living in their own truth and their own integrity. It's something that I try to do every day, is be in my truth and integrity, and I look for people that I can see that and how they do that.
Now we have a question from chat, and that is, what was the key to yourself that you discovered through treatment?
Wow. What was the key to myself?
Yes.
Gosh, it was such an amazing program. I learned so much about myself. I too was, living in tremendous shame and had really poor self-esteem and was very. I had lost sight of the light inside of me. I was in such a dark place. So I guess, just being able to see the light in myself again was very gratifying and hopeful for me. It just was such an amazing experience. And like I said, the work was a program that Stephanie Covington, who's nationally known, and she did this program specifically for women, and a phenomenal program. And I use a lot of her work in my work, but really touch points for women. And women heal so differently from addiction than men do, and so I was able to really see the light in myself again. I guess that would be the best way to say it. Great question.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on tonight. I think we've reached the end of the show, so thank you for having the courage to come on. You have a wonderful message and definitely helping to heal people. Would you like to share your contact information again?
Certainly, and thank you so much, Rob, for inviting me to come on this evening. It's just been a real pleasure. My website, again, is womenspathwaystohealth.com, and you can reach me at Mel at womenspathwaystohealth.com, and if you'd like to call me, you can call me at 612-791-6330. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming on. And
great, thank you.
That was Mel Scholl, and you can find her at the links you just mentioned, and those links will be posted in the forum as well. So look there if you're looking for Mel Scholl. Now, Awakened Radio has Thrive Magazine, which is a magazine all about your creativity, so you can contribute artwork or poetry or stories or other articles. And that is due November 10th, and it's our way to share with the community. So please feel welcome to share your contributions, and we provide links back to your site and your bio in the magazine, and that comes out around the 20th of each month. So remember that, and please do contribute if you can. You can also join us as a sponsor, and as a sponsor, your message is played 3 times during the show, and again in the archives, because we leave them in the show. So if you have a well-being-based or spirituality-based show similar to the programs here on Awakened Radio, please do feel free to sponsor. And we play a 30-second spot that you create, or you give us a script and we'll create it for you. And if you're so inclined and if you enjoyed our shows, you can also donate to the station, as we're largely host and listener supported, and we have big yellow buttons at the top of all the screens, so please find it in your heart to click the donate button. Now, we also have a holiday sale going on in the Awakened Radio store, and type in holiday when you're ready to check out, and you'll have a 35% off discount at checkout, and there's no minimum or maximum. And I have meditations in the store, and you can buy dream catchers, and I believe kefir when it's in stock. I'm not sure if it is right now, but you can buy that, as well as dream catchers, readings from the hosts, crystals, stones, and more. So please feel free to explore Awakened Radio. We're also starting a new program where if you know somebody who's done something wonderful, is inspirational in some way, and the media doesn't know about them, we'd like to, so that we can talk about them on our website and in Thrive Magazine. So please let us know. We'll be picking a person for November, and I guess they'll go into Thrive Magazine. So it could be someone that helped an elderly person across the street, or has a bigger program and maybe they're helping the homeless. Whatever it is, let us know, and we'll talk about that person in our magazine and on air and on our website. Thanks for listening this week. Stay tuned next week again for Simply Conversations.
Cause
Thank
we're
you.
awakened, you won't catch us sleeping through the fight. And like we're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened, come and join our love, it's so right. If you could feel what we feel now, you'd be a leader filled with might. Cause we're awakened, you won't catch us sleeping through